Hello everyone, this is Ummsaalih with Ummsaalih Speaks. Today we have an awesome video for you guys. We're going to be interviewing Khalil from Detroit, who is the CEO of Chill, Don't Kill, a program which is a nonprofit organization. We're going to be talking about a variety of subjects dealing with the inner city and the criminal justice system. Stay tuned and watch out. This gets good. Computer. Okay. Hey everyone, this is Ummsaalih Speaks, and right here I have Khalil. He is the the CEO of Chill Don't Kill, a nonprofit organization, and I'm going to let him have the reins and describe what he does.
Okay, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah, as the sister said, my name is Brother Khalil, MuMinun, native of Detroit, Michigan. And in 2012, we started an organization that we called Chill Don't Kill. It is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And basically our focus is to eliminate violent crimes in the city of Detroit. And so what we do is we find various ways to involve ourselves in the communities and in the lives of the people that live there, that where we can demonstrate and teach the principles of living in a community. And so we have a variety of services that we provide in the community that are all with the intent of bringing about a community atmosphere in which we are all invested in the progress, the success, the health and well-being of one another. So that's it in a broad sense, what our goal is.
That's awesome. I love it. I like the fact that it's not just talk, because we have BLM, which I'm not a fan of, and there just seems to be a lot of outreach as far as them collecting money and a whole bunch of nobody knows where the money is going. But this is actually a community service where you can actually see the progress. So how many youths do you feel like you actually impacted so far?
Numerous. It's really hard to say and put an exact number on that, but we have regular contact with so many different people in our community, and we're right in the process of launching the main thrust of our program, which is to train young people in the community in the building trades as an alternative to making money illegally. I'm not sure, to what extent, Black Lives Matter involves themselves in the community, and there's a lot of different things that needs to be done. But I personally see that as our most important tool that we have, which is to actually reach out and connect with real people. You know what I mean? Like, we're up against so many other types of influences that we have to overcome. There's so much negative influence, from culturally, from different avenues. Hollywood has a negative.
Just one second, sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry about that. I'm back.
The life of a mom, right? Ummsaalih.
I was literally cooking. I was cooking, and I was like, "Dang, I'm burning it." But go ahead.
Allahu Akbar. Allah bless you. Managing and juggling, may Allah bless you. So yeah, I was just saying that I see the effort to reach out and touch people. Not coming through the screens or coming through a culture that's out there that's not accessible to them through celebrities and what have you. Being in the community, I've always felt represents our strongest way to reach and influence people. That really can't be overcome. You know, when you reach out and you connect with people and they feel, you know, your concern, you know, and they connect with you on an interpersonal level, that has more of a powerful impact than any other medium. So yeah, we lean heavy on that, you know, making contact at the grassroots level, you know.
That is awesome. Do you guys have any affiliations with the BLM movement?
No, we haven't had any direct contact with any representatives from the Black Lives Matter movement. I think, you know, I guess we all kind of exist under an umbrella of, you know, different efforts that are going forward to try to improve conditions in our society for the Black community. And you know, we have different strategies. You know, we don't all necessarily agree, but we have to leave space for us to really, you know, work together where we can, since we do have a common interest, which is, you know, uplifting our people, rehabilitating the hearts and minds of our people, you know, after their traumatic experience over the generations in America.
Do you feel that the traumatic experience is still happening? Do you feel that there still is a lot of racism currently in our community, or do you feel like it's somewhat self-inflicted, or and somewhat still systemic racism?
Oh yeah, most definitely. And anyone with even a cursory understanding of American history shouldn't have any difficulty making those connections between how racism has survived all of these years and the deliberate efforts that were made to ensure that there would be a perpetual disadvantage, that Black people were kept in a position of in relation to white Americans. And so, you know, there definitely is, and one of the primary ways in which we continue to see that that play out is in the criminal justice system. Is one of the most clear ways in which that happened, where you can look at hard data and see that, you know, people in the Black and brown communities receive more time for the same crimes as it was outlined in Michelle Alexander's book, you know, The New Jim Crow. She details very, very clearly how, you know, crime and punishment dealt with the sale of crack in the Black community much differently than it dealt with and is dealing with, you know, sort of, you know, those drugs that are proliferated in the white American community, you know, methamphetamines, cocaine, you know, charges for those drugs were much less, and the punishments were less strict. So
No,
that.
I thought it was kind of funny that you mentioned crack cocaine being sold in the Detroit, like in the communities, because I know in Detroit is actually pretty heavy on the crime and the amount of time. It just actually recently it's been kind of overturned, which allows drug offenders after 5 years to get parole, because before in 1976 it was something called a 650 lifer law, and the first person who received it was white boy Rick. I'm assuming he was white.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
You can check and see. But
Otherwise,
white boy Rick, he got life because he had over 650 grams of cocaine.
yeah, that's a very famous story here in
He was
Detroit.
white, right?
Huh?
He was white, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Sure.
And you know, that only underscores the way in which the laws, although they might exist on the books, they're applied to certain cases where the judge deems fit. So even if you have a law like that, there's still that discretion to decide who merits those reduced sentences and what have you. And it almost always seems to end up where Black and brown people don't merit that type of leniency. And so, you know, I'd have to look into the details of that law and when it was enacted, but just judging from, you know, similar laws,
He's
and
48.
how they were applied.
He just got out.
I'm sorry.
He's 40. He spent 30 years in prison. But with that law, it actually had a lot of people coming in and getting life sentences for like lower level drug offenses.
Mm.
So I think that law didn't help at the same time because it just overfilled the prison population. But I'm saying that is it because do you see more of our people inside of the prison because they're doing more crimes? Do you feel like I'm not saying that white people are doing better or this than the other, and I'm not denying the history of our people because I know that we had dealt with racism, but currently we are not dealing with racism. This is the best time in the world to be black. We have so many privileges more than white people, but I'm saying, and is it because a lot of people are trying to perpetuate the same idea of us being in prison because of someone else instead of taking the concern to the people that are actually doing it? Because the initial reason that we actually contacted each other was a post that you posted on your page, on your personal page, and it was stated, it says, unpopular opinion. Drug dealers are forced into a life of crime by a racist government that views a thriving black economy as a threat to its social order. That's what I mean. So to me, giving the excuse, because I was like, I thought this was a stupid post. I said it was.
Tell me how you really feel, sis.
I'm telling you, I said that this was stupid on so many levels, and I had like 10 O's. So it was stupid on so many levels because of the fact that it's just giving drug dealers the excuse. I feel like everybody can make their own decisions. And to decide that you want the instant gratification of being a drug dealer, it's silly to me because you're putting your life in danger, you're putting your family lives in danger, and you made that choice. So maybe instead of making excuses for drug dealers, maybe we can actually encourage people to make better choices so they do not become drug dealers. Because there's options out there. There's options out there, but a lot of people make decisions to be drug dealers, a lot of men, because one, they need to feed their family. But to combat that, why not wait until you finish school to have a family so it's not a struggle? And then two, you want to impress a girl. Why not wait until you get a proper job and with a 401k to impress that girl? And three, probably because they just want the money, they want the fame, they want the oh, I'm that bull, ran the way. So I need to know, why do you feel that drug dealers are forced into this life, knowing that most times it ends in death and jail?
That's a very good question, and I did appreciate the dialogue that we had online because it gave us an opportunity to sort of elaborate on some of those points. And just to start, the reason I feel that they are forced is because young African American men and women are born into circumstances that were basically the result of years and generations of deliberate efforts to undermine the growth and progress of our people. And so, basically, when they find themselves in a situation where they have to consider if they want to involve themselves in drug trafficking or not, a lot of that has to do with, let's just start from the point of how it got there in the first place. And so there has been information that has come out over the years that pointed to America's involvement in ensuring that drugs made its way into the inner cities. And so just to start there, if there is some culpability, and I believe that there is on the part of the American government in terms of how drugs ends up in our community. And you can just, research the Iran-Contra affair and the charges that were brought forward in terms of allowing drugs to be trafficked into the inner city to fundraise for the war effort in Nicaragua. That is just one instance where there were indications that the government had a hand in making sure that drugs found its way into the inner city. Now, when you take that and you look at the high unemployment rates within our community that have basically been sustained over generations, and then you take that along with the substandard education that our people have been subjected to over the generations, and then you get to see that there's an entire web of circumstances that the government plays a primary role in bringing about that leads to these types of decisions. Now, that post wasn't made in order to excuse the poor decision making of people who take the quick, easy route to making money and to the detriment of their community. But what I intended to do with that post is to open up a deeper discussion, because a lot of times the conversation stops there. It stops at the level of what's wrong with these drug dealers, and why can't they get their acts together? And this is like a strategy that's used by people outside of our community to demonize our people and to create a narrative that says Black people have a predisposition to criminality, right? And so we have to push back on that in the sense that we begin to look at some of the other factors that lead into why people ultimately get involved in drug trafficking to make money, because it's not just a predisposition to criminality. It's not a predisposition at all, but it's not just a lack of morals that plays a role. Many people feel forced into that when you put that up against the high unemployment rates, the lack of job opportunities, the poor educational system, and so on and so forth.
So I have a question.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
the lack of job opportunities, do you feel like where do you think that stemmed from? Like from like I'm saying, do you feel like was it a point in time where our neighborhoods were thriving? Like back in like maybe the 50s, the 40s, or like when we were together, when we had more of a not the like I'm talking about like maybe the 60s or something, when it was more togetherness. When I come from my father's, he passed away, but he was older, and he came from a generation who actually went to school, who had did what they did, um, but they made a decision not to sell drugs because when my father, he was an architectural engineer. He worked for one of like the biggest companies, in the world. It's called Raytheon, and he worked there for years. He, still had a pension and everything. And I understand the economy, goes up and down or whatever, but um, he was educated, and when he needed extra money, he decided, even though he had his high-paying job, he sold newspapers because he had, I think, 13 kids. So to me, it's still a choice, and it still boils down to morals and what we're teaching our children. And I totally understand what you're saying because our communities are dying. Our communities are this, are that the education is subpar. But why? Like, I could say I live in the burbs right now. Let something happen to let a class not be where it should be. And the moms are like, y'all gonna get my kids what they need. I know for myself, growing up, I went to, I grew up in Philadelphia. I never seen any PTA meetings. I never seen any community involvement. I'm not saying it wasn't any, but the involvement of the parents. I think that the cure to our current disease in the Black community is more parents' involvement, is more no, like trying to help the single mothers and having, having the family reunited, because there's no way there's not enough money or not enough funding for our kids in each school, because each kid gets a lot of money per year where they can, in the school districts. And, you mentioned how the schools are bad, but it's so many things that could be fixed, because in reference to, okay, so the government gives us a certain amount of money. Then the people in charge hire people that they have to pay, that hire other people that they had to pay, that hire other people that they had to pay, that have nonsense jobs, instead of just giving the money where it should be to the kids. So it's more who we elect. And I'm more of a, we did something wrong, so why can't we fix it? Instead of blaming the government, because the more the government is involved, the more it's starting to get messed up. Because I believe that there was a time where there was less government involvement and we were successful. So that's just my opinion on it. Because I really, I think there is a solution to all of what we're going through and all of what we see. Is just us making better decisions from the gate, us eliminating baby moms, um, us having more father and son relationships, us, having the men in the house, the things that we have and that we were given in Islam. We were given these cures to these diseases, and is what we were taught as Muslims. So it's easy to me in my mind, but we have to kind of admit to it, because I feel like there's a lot of victim blaming, or not victim blaming. There's a lot of victimization.
Yeah, I mean, I think that all of those points you made are valid. They're valid observations. They speak directly to what people need to do in order to change their condition. As Allah says in the Quran, He will not change the condition of the people until they change what is within themselves. And so what you're saying is true. The thing is, it's when you get to the point of, well, how does that happen? Now you have to develop a more sophisticated understanding as to why people make these choices. If you want to have any meaningful effect on the situation, you can't just bring the conversation to people that, you need to make better choices. You need to make better decisions, because, you have to understand a little more the thinking of the people. And that's why Chill Don't Kill is, I believe, plays such an important role in the overall effort to rehabilitate our community, because it is people within the community who understand the environment, who understand the nuance of what confronts people on a daily basis.
But
And so
how do you feel like us, people are understanding? Do you feel like that people understand so much that it's cultivating an excuse bubble? So you have a group of people that understand, okay, I understand why you're a drug dealer. So now is it giving them more excuses, or is it guiding them to make better decisions?
well, ultimately, I mean, how you uh, engage people, what types of activities, approaches you have, it should be geared towards doing that. And so one of the things that's important when it comes to understanding is the sentiment that you bring with you into these spaces with these people, because people pick up on energy and vibes, and if there's a level of condescension that you bring into those spaces, that's not going to yield itself to resolving the problem. You have to come into that circumstance with a certain level of empathy and understanding what the dynamics of what people are up against when they're born into impoverished communities, when they're born into communities that have already been ravaged by the influx of drugs and cocaine and what have you. You have to understand, like, these people are up against some very difficult circumstances. And if I, as an individual within that community had certain things working for me, if I had a family that loved me, if I had people that were going to PTAs and I benefited from that, I have to, I have to understand that maybe this person didn't have those things that I had that led me, because hey, it was available to all of us. And that's the thing about being amongst these people, it was available to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, in fact, I tell you how close the condition is to me. We actually started Chill Don't Kill in 2012 when a childhood friend of mine was murdered, and we've all been seeing, the murders that go on. We, know people who know people that were killed. And that was like, really close to home, because this is a person who we grew up with like brothers, Lester Dean Hutchison in Detroit, Michigan. These are people we went to school with, our cousins knew. We were all family in the same neighborhood on the same block.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Why was he killed?
It was hood stuff. It was hood beef. It was misunderstandings that could have been resolved a different way, but it was dealt with in a way that is customary for the street. And so, when you come out of that experience and you understand the mentality, you understand the pressures that people are responding to, and you go on to develop a new way of thinking, it's upon us to bring that different perspective back into those spaces and try to have a positive influence. And that is part of the problem, is the way in which we find a better way for ourselves and we leave the condition behind. Yeah. And so it's only those people that grew up in the circumstance and understand the nuance of it that can then come in and articulate truth, articulate morals at a level and in a way that people are able to receive. No, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not about coming in and telling people what they already know. They already know drugs is wrong. They already know it destroys the community. But if you understand that these choices are being made from an economic standpoint, now you understand that along with that conversation about how it destroys the community, you have to provide an alternative. You can't just come in and give them a sermon if you're not going to be there with them and show them a way forward. And that's where we're light at. We're heavy on the condemnation, and we're very light on actually showing people an alternative.
So you said you're heavy on being condescending.
But no, I'm speaking in general terms. People tend to be heavy on the condemnation, condemning, and that's even within the community. People, who are directly affected by drug sales and the violence that comes along with that.
I don't agree with it, and I'll explain to you why. Like I said, I'm from Philadelphia, and I've seen a lot of stuff. I've seen drugs from different perspectives. I've seen drugs from when they were made. I've seen the money that it brought in from a very, very young age, things that I was not ever supposed to see. I've seen the people who used it. I was related to the people who used it. I've seen the people who sold it. I was related to the people who sold it. They all made excuses for themselves. I've noticed that one pattern. Because we hood, we got to live that way. Yeah, I mean, it's always an excuse. And I feel like if we are, because I feel like you're saying people are heavy on being condescending people. I think that we're light on it. The fact that half of the rap songs are about killing people, half of the rap songs are the things that the young people are following are about drug deals, killing people, girls, fornication, pills, drugs, this, that, and the other.
There's a reason it's that way.
Yeah, but there's a reason it's that way. But I'm saying that it's not enough people saying that it's wrong. It's more an excuse, because I see my family members, or I see people that I've known that are just like, oh, that's just the way. I've been told that my boys are going to go through a certain amount of harassment, or they're going to have to go through, the streets. My kids are not going to ever have to go through it. If they do, then they're idiots. And I'm going to let them know.
Allah bless them.
May Allah guide them and me. But I'm saying that we make too many excuses And we expect our boys, especially, to have to go through this kind of stuff. So instead of being hard on them, because for instance, I use my family as an excuse. I tell my kids, y'all don't have to go through what they went through. Look at their lives or look at their examples, and you don't want to have that. You have a cousin that may or may not, that may have an ankle bracelet. I'm gonna tell them exactly why they had the ankle bracelet on, because of horrible decisions they made. So in a way, I'm scaring my kids straight so they don't have to go through those decisions or they don't have to do what they did. It's more of an excuse, it's more of an acceptance. So that's why I view it differently. And I feel like we get too many leeways, too many programs, too many things that's helping people instead of just saying, don't get married, finish school, be patient, and then have a baby. Instead of telling them, instead of encouraging baby moms, instead of having baby showers once your child fornicates, let them know, I'm disappointed in you. You won't have to do this by yourself because you made that bad decision. But we always celebrating somebody come home from jail. We having a barbecue. Why are we doing these things? So to me, I understand what you're saying, but always having a compassionate hand and having all of these free services and having this, having that, it's allowing, to me, it's allowing for the increase of it.
Well, I just think it's all in how you look at it. I don't think anything you're saying is in conflict with what I'm saying personally. I feel like it's about balance. It's about, being able to see the nuance of the condition and understand all of the different factors. I mean, what you're saying is true. That's a factor, and it's important to consider who you're talking to and what you're saying. Consider your audience. When I'm speaking to children, the conversation is not geared towards why people feel like they have to make resort to drug sales to make money. It depends on who I'm talking to. When I'm speaking to our community broadly, I do like to bring these issues because our community, that let's say the non-drug selling, non-criminal element, broader community, because most of our people don't involve themselves in crime. Most of our people are not selling drugs. So when I'm speaking to the broad community, I try to get them to understand that it's a lot to it, and get them to understand the challenge that people encounter in these spaces where they can't envision a life beyond the hood. Like some of us may have been blessed to imagine better for ourselves. People feel trapped in their circumstance. And in many instances, it's really a choice between life and death. When they see people being evicted, you don't want to be that person that can't afford a place to stay in December, in January. You don't want to be a person that can't afford food for their children. We all know people like that. So when we have these examples around us of people who were crushed by their circumstance, it really boils down.
I'm not dead honest with you. I've never met anybody who can afford food for their kids because I know most people are on welfare.
Consider yourself to be very privileged, because I have.
No, but I'm saying that there are so many programs. There are so many programs, and there has been times where I had to sacrifice, where I had to do this, but I did not go out on the corner and I did not sell. I did not do anything that was considered haram. I had patience. So I'm saying again, once again, because my kids are hungry, because this, that, and the other, is still an excuse. So you're telling me, because I understand what you're saying, but I need you to open up and to be like, okay, I know most people on welfare, they either, let's be honest, most kids, their moms are on every program under the world. The kids walking around in Jordans, and it's just miss money management. Most kids I know in Philly, they kids.
Most kids have Jordans.
Oh my goodness! In Philly, you have to understand that my kids be the ones in raggedy shoes because we can't afford it. We rather make sure that there's food on the table. Is miss money management. So I understand that you see a different you may see a different perspective, or you may see this.
No, I mean, there are people in the same neighborhoods that dress really well. There are people that are getting along just fine for the most part. But what I'm saying is that we have to consider all of the stories that are playing out in our community. We can't just scapegoat one success story.
They are always considered.
We can't take a token success story and then use.
When are these people not considered? And I'm saying that I've been in situations where I had 2 halal kids. Not that I had 2 halal kids, alhamdulillah, and I was a single mom for 5 years by myself, working, doing, and it was times where I had to feed them and not feed myself. But I didn't go out and do anything that was haram. I just was patient and waited. I may have asked for help, and it was so many programs that I could have, especially in the inner cities. There are overwhelming amount of programs that are there to invest. Just 1 second so I can holler at these kids. So, listen, it's Ummsaalih.
I love it.
There are an overwhelming amount of programs that are there to help people. We are not in if you go to the suburbs, there are less programs and less less for people to get help. But in the inner cities, there is millions and millions of dollars being pumped into the system to help with evictions, to help with, because there were times when it was time that I was about to get evicted. It was like around the time my father passed away. I lost my job, I lost my car, and I had to go and ask the government for help so I wouldn't be on the street with my 2 kids because I didn't get no help. So there are times that I reached out. There are so many programs. It's a Google search away. So what I'm saying is, when are we going to just acknowledge and say, maybe before, and talk to the youth, don't have a baby father. Don't value yourself as a woman and become a wife. Don't let him trick you, or don't let her trick you, or tell to the boys instead of telling them or making excuses. When are we going to tell them, okay, well, honestly, this is how much you're going to make as a drug dealer. It's less than minimum wage. And then the jail time, and then this. We're not telling them the truth. All of the rappers, all of the singers, all of the things that they're seeing on TV, it's glorifying these things. I remember seeing my brother, and this was like a pivotal point in his life. He was like 13, 14, and I was getting off of work. I was walking in, and I seen him and one of his friends got shot. And I seen the childhood drain out of his face. And I'm telling you this because I don't know why the little boy got shot, and people can blame it on the cops, but whatever the situation was, it affected him so much throughout his whole life. But we have to understand that it was decisions that maybe my father made, that my mother made. Why was their 14-year-old boy out in the street? We lived in the University City area, so we had no reason to have these. So what was my mother and my father lacking in? I feel like if you don't say, if we believe that you're supposed to feel shame, what did I do wrong? As Muslims, we self-reflect. We hear this in the Quran, and we self-reflect. What can I do better? How can I adjust myself? But we're not doing that.
I agree.
No.
I mean, it's true. I mean, that's what I've been saying all along, is that I don't disagree with what you're saying at all. So, I mean, I don't know how else to respond to that.
I know, right? That was the awkward silence. But no, I just feel like I'm attacked because I take this view. I'm sick and tired of people just sitting there making excuses. Why?
Well, I think that, you know, to boil it all down to excuse making is really, it's not, it's not helpful in the sense of really putting yourself in a position to deal with the problem. You know, if you look at any problem that, let's say the government, for example, seeks to resolve, the first thing that they do is they study it, they investigate it, they look at all of the reasons why a particular problem might exist. And then they develop a strategy that resolves the issue by going down the list of all of the factors that contribute to it. You know, this is just intelligent action on behalf of the community, where we enumerate the factors and the reasons why people get involved in these things.
No, I agree with, I love the fact that you're doing what you're doing. This is actually a program that is helping the situation. This is, I read what you do. You hold the kids self accountable. They're not allowed to do programs with you if they don't have if they have any jail time, if they're missing school. You know, certain programs. I read your website. The
Well,
website.
it's not that we exclude people based upon
No,
not going to jail. That is a particular program that we initiated where we offered them an opportunity to be involved in whatever interest they have. Like, say, for example, if they were interested in basketball, a lot of young people like to play basketball in our community. So we offered them an opportunity to go to a basketball camp, provided they met with the standards that we imposed. Now, that was just one part of what we did, and you know, as an incentive for them to go a different direction in their lives. Now, that's something that you put out there for grade school students that, you know, have not succumbed entirely to the environment that they're growing up in. So that's a preventative step that we took to try to keep people, young people, from growing in that direction. There's a totally different approach that we have to, you know, say people who are 18 to 25. And so, you know, we have a multi-pronged approach that we take to trying to resolve this issue that's all born out of understanding the dynamics of why people get involved in criminality and you know, just what the potential to reach them at different stages of their lives. We take all of that into consideration, basically.
Okay, so how do you deal with the youth 18 to 25 that have already been incarcerated, or that have already probably been indoctrinated in a gang, or been introduced to drug selling, or maybe addicted to drugs? How do you deal with that?
Well, some of those challenges are beyond the scope of what we try to do. We don't really focus on drug rehabilitation or anything like that. Although, you know, I could see building out a program like that in the future, because that weighs heavily on our goal in general. But how we deal with that 18 to 25-year-old age group is we train them. We give them a skill that they can feel proud of, that they can make money with, that they can survive with, in place of you know, selling drugs. Because we know that the way that the criminal injustice system works, it plays right into the high recidivism rates that we see over and over again, by making people who have been incarcerated unemployable, by, you know, essentially.
I wouldn't hire a drug dealer. I have a school. I wouldn't hire a drug dealer. There's no way. I wouldn't hire a drug dealer. So to me,
well, you should know what everything that somebody has done, in my opinion.
So you had a school, or you have a if you had a retail store, would you hire someone who had a high theft rate, or had a you know, what is it called? You steal stuff from stores. I don't know what the thing is.
Shoplifting
or something. If you have a record, would you hire someone like that?
I think that, you know, in situations like that, let me just say, I think there are certain scenarios where knowing someone's background is appropriate. You know, if it's being used to protect children, if it's used to protect the elderly, you know, schools, things of that nature to protect the safety and security of our schools. That's different. But I don't think, you know, that knowledge should be used to bar people from lawful employment, because to me, that plays right into forcing them back into, you know, trying to resort to the streets to survive.
Yeah.
There was a time when, you know, a person could earn their degree in jail. And there was a time when they could learn a trade in jail. Okay. And so that did more to rehabilitate people
but
than.
how many people did it affect? And how many people did it actually help?
I believe that did a lot more to help people from returning to a life of crime than making it difficult for them to get employed once they did their time and paid their debt to society.
Yes, I agree with that as well. I think that it should be an opportunity given to people who have made mistakes, and I do believe in second chances. I understand, because as Muslims we believe forgiveness. If we have mercy on people, Allah will have mercy on us. I do understand that, but my issue is, I think I think our issue is getting down to the nitty gritty, and is getting down to morals and our choices that we make, because if we as parents are not talking to our kids, then they're going to talk to someone else, and the fathers need to be in their lives. So we have to stop the baby mom thing. We have to stop you know, we have to stop situations that are hindering and hurting our community. And the first thing is the family. When our community thrived, it was mother, father, children. It was marriage, and it was beautiful. But we don't have that anymore because of the welfare system that was indoctrinated into our communities, who didn't allow the men to live with the women and all this other stuff. So welfare system actually became the fathers. So to me, we have to find the importance. If we don't have the foundation, if we don't have the also, everything is going to crumble. And the foundation is the family. Everything you're saying, all the excuses, all the things, it boils down to this person having a mother and a father in the house, a strong father figure, a mother who respects their father, a mother who is not going to demean the man in the house and is going to show the boy how to be a man. To me, if you don't have that foundation, then the whole society crumbles. So until we fix the mother and the father, nothing is going to be fixed. So all the efforts that we do, we're just going to keep popping out babies who are lost.
Well, you know, there are a number of challenges that confront our community. You know, children being born out of wedlock is one. You know, drugs and the influx of them into our communities is another. But I think when you just take the situation for what it is, you have to ask yourself, regardless of, you know, how it came to be, what can we do practically to get it going in a positive direction? And I always like to turn the conversation back around on us as people who are thinking clearly, as people who do have discipline, a certain level of functional discipline, as people who do have a certain level of understanding about how to govern our lives in a way that is healthy and wholesome. We have to ask ourselves, what are we doing when we know those families on the block that are struggling, that have parents that don't live their lives responsibly? Do we try in our own way to get involved in those children's lives and rescue them? Do we try to take them to the birthday party, or do we shun them because we don't want them being around with their bad character and influencing our children? That's a real concern, but I think that what we have to do is create scenarios where we can embrace them and where they can see a different way to contrast with what they see going on in their homes. Because the reality is that there are a lot of parents that are not in a position to raise their children properly in a healthy household. They're not healthy themselves for a variety of reasons. And so My tendency is to turn the attention to ourselves and ask, what can we do given the state of affairs in our community to get it going in a positive direction, and talking and knowing that it's not healthy just isn't enough. We have to put our hands into these situations. We have to touch people's lives. We have to become invested in each other, you know, and
How can we do that? Because one, we are living in a time, we used to believe that it takes a village. And now is just being honest, it's if you talk to someone's kids, if you're trying to advise them, it's don't tell my kids nothing. It's my baby. I'm gonna do this. You get a lot of backlash from parents because of the um I guess of the pride and stuff like that. So how do you reach your children who want to be reached, who need the help, but their parents are crazy?
well, I mean, I think that we have to use our intellect and not make excuses for not getting involved. Those are excuses too, you know. Oh, well,
I'm asking how do we go around the crazy
well,
parent?
no, not you, but I'm speaking in terms of like how people think, because I know that there are a lot of people that
You
think
know
that
who
way.
I'm talking about. You is more than a lot of people. Most parents are like, I don't want you to have nothing. Don't talk to my kids. You
And
do a lot of that ratchet.
that's why what I'm saying to them is don't make excuses. Those children are the priority, okay? You have to find a way to save those children in whatever way is possible given the attitude and the behavior of the parents. You know, and I would say to us, a lot of times we don't take the proper steps towards getting involved because we don't want to be responsible. So we give ourselves a reason not to. We do a cop out. You know, it's just like, for example, a way to deal with a parent that might, you know, have be belligerent or, you know, unrefined in the way that they conduct themselves. Take them something, take them food. Okay, if your first interaction with the family when they move on the block is you bringing them something, that sets a tone for that relationship. They will be more open to your what you have to say in any respect, not just criticism. The problem with us is the first time we engage our neighbors is that we want to tell them, hey, could you turn your music down? Well, who are you? I've been over here for 2 years and you haven't said nothing to me. Now all of a sudden you want to come over and ask me for something. So we got it twisted ourselves, man, when we think about how to get involved or reasons why we don't want to get involved. This is the part where we need to think differently and change something within ourselves if we want to see a change in our community.
Yes. This is exactly why I wanted to create this. Because I'm like the weirdo who always wants to have everybody over. So I'm like, it's from the sunnah to invite your brother, your sister over. And everybody's like, why she always want to have somebody over? So, I'm always the weirdo. So it's like I'm okay with that. Alhamdulillah. We're supposed to be strangers in this world. It took me a while to get that. So to get that way. But at the same time, I've always been very outspoken, very vocal about what I've seen and what I see is wrong. I'm always saying something about it. So I wanted to create an outlet, a way for people to um, view things in a different manner. So, I love the dialect. I love the fact that we're open and we're talking about what is going on in our communities. You know, in Philly, it's pretty harsh. It's a very harsh environment. A lot of people don't talk. A lot of people don't do this. But the reason I get so frustrated because I see a lot of people coming together for things that are not necessarily right. So you're right. If we change that, if we change people's minds about what is right and what is wrong, and we normalize what is actually normal. I think we normalize funerals. We normalize barbecues for people who are doing something bad. If we celebrate the person who just graduated college, if we celebrate the person that just got a job, we celebrate the new entrepreneur and stop hating on them and believe in their business. If we celebrate things that are celebratable and not like, yo, you know, Ray Ray from the block just got out. Let me go see that. No, we don't need to celebrate that. I think what we need to start celebrating is more positive things, because when people give attention to the negative things, then they'll do more negative things. Like if you have a child and they notice that they'll get more attention from you if they do bad stuff. They're going to do what? More bad stuff. So I think we need to celebrate our success in in more and more.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, it's very important that the religious community gets out and engages the people. You know, we come from a heavy tradition of you know, being involved on the ground, having a presence in our communities, and to a large extent, we have allowed that relationship that we established long ago to deteriorate. And what I find to be remarkable as I engage the community in this now space and time is that people are still very open to hearing from us, you know, which is really remarkable, because, you know, they don't want to hear it from nobody, you know what I'm saying? But we still have a certain rapport in the community that we aren't taking full advantage of. So part of my effort with Chill Don't Kill is twofold, in the sense that, you know, yes, we as a primary focus are trying to, you know, redirect the lives of our youth in a positive direction and reestablish the principles of community in within the neighborhood. But also, you know, a lot of my efforts are focused on reinvigorating the religious community to get out and take advantage of the rapport that I found to still be there for us among the people in our community. And it's a difficult challenge, because we don't have those reflexes anymore. You know, we have reflexes about, you know, going to the conference, going to the lecture, you know, it's like that's part of the culture now. And so, you know, what I find is that we're up against resistance or just a lack of interest, I would say, amongst our community in actually engaging in this work. And so in many respects, you know, that is what the situation needs. That's what it's waiting on, because no one else can come in and dialogue with our people the way that we can. You know what I'm saying? Being those who come up out of the situation, and also having the light of faith guiding our ethics, our morals. You know, that is what really gives us credibility, is that people still look upon us as being people who walk the talk. You know, little do they know. No, I'm just kidding.
On the low, for real, because I know a couple. No, go ahead.
Stop for law. No, but really what it is when you commit yourself, for however much you fall short, if you commit yourself to making an effort to reform your behavior and your conduct, there is a light that emanates from you. We don't always see it within ourselves, you know, but there is a light that people perceive who have despaired of any sense of, you know, trying to live according to right and wrong. They're living according to what they can survive with. You get what I'm saying? It's a different type of standard that they live by. And
I get it.
you know,
I remember being a single mother and being in survival mode, thinking about my kids' next meal, having that worry about if I have a place to live. You're in a survival mode. I am now in a position that I'm married, where you're supposed to be. Even though all my kids are halal, alhamdulillah, I still was a single mother because I was placed in a position. But once again, it goes to decisions that I made. I do not blame anybody for me being a baby mom. I mean, ex-wife. I do not blame it, because it was a choice of men that I chose. So I chose bad decisions once again, and then I created a problem that affected other people. So me just looking back and reflecting, I can't blame my situation on nobody else. I'm just saying that now that I'm not in survival mode, it gives you time to reflect, and it gives you time to think, because my transition from being a single mother and being a housewife wasn't easy. It was asking to give up power that I thought I had, that I thought I needed, and it's not something that everybody can do. So until when our community actually gets out of this survival mode, it's going to be a hard pill to swallow that we can be okay, because you don't feel the trauma until you're relaxed. So when you are in survival mode, you feel that it's like adrenaline constantly pumping through you. When you don't feel that you got shot, you don't feel that hurt. But when you're relaxed, you're like, oh no. So we had to, one, prepare our community for that time when we have to accept the trauma that we placed ourselves in, and that who, from whatever we were placed in. I don't know.
Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah. Yeah, we just have to learn how to, work together and not allow difference of opinion to disrupt the potential for us to work together. Because oftentimes, what we perceive as a difference of opinion is really just having more of a passion in one area than another. Sometimes I've seen that. And so we have to, understand the conversations that we have about these problems in a different way, where, we understand the need for different approaches, different sentiments that drive different efforts. I personally have found that because my focus is on actually engaging the people on the ground, I have to approach them with a degree of understanding in terms of what they're up against, and then it's the empathy is very important in that exchange. People have to feel that you understand, not agree with. They know you don't agree with it because of what you say, or at least what I say, and calling them away. But the thing is I've found there's very little value in telling people what they already know. You know what I'm saying? I found that there's more value in calling, to what is right, and in demonstrating a level of understanding, because people won't want to hear you if they don't feel like, well, you don't know what I'm up against, you don't understand my challenge, and then there's a degree that you have to express and demonstrate that you understand the condition, so that again, I think what you have been saying is valid, it's the sentiment I have. Of course, I feel like, we need to make different choices in our community. When we get to the point of that, where we talk about how, I think we have to understand very clearly all the factors that lead into why people make these decisions, and then we have to take intelligent action. Then we have to take intelligent action.
The factors are obvious. We do, our community, we have drugs because we want to use that as our therapy. We want to numb our feelings. The factors are obvious. We want to sell drugs. The men want to sell drugs because they need fast money. The factors are obvious. Women are becoming baby moms because they're looking for love from the kids. They're looking for love from the men. So the factors are obvious and we see them. So now that we know these factors, the question is, let's stop talking about, because you see on the news outlets, all of this talk about how we need. We do not need anything else. We don't need no more free handouts. We don't need nothing else. We don't need the government involvement. We need to address the problem. We have the excuses on why we're doing it. I'm hurt, so I'm going to try to heal myself. So how are we going to heal ourselves? My issue is, we hear and we see what is wrong. Now, what are the next steps so that we can stop being dependent on other things? What are the next steps so we can stop being dependent on drugs by selling them and using them? How can we stop being baby fathers? How can we encourage the boys to become husbands instead of baby fathers? How can we stop glorifying this horrible lifestyle that is destroying our communities? So we see and we know what's going on, but now I want to start talking about the solution instead of creating like more programs. Like I see your program as a solution. I don't want any more free handouts. The government does not need to give the school districts any more money. We just need to find elect people in that's going to make better decisions with the money that they give for their students. That's it. It's simple.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. May Allah help us to be beacons of light in this time of fitna and fasad, when people are confused and don't know the way forward, you know. May Allah help us to actualize the teachings that we draw from the divine scripture and make it present in these spaces, you know, because that's what the people are suffering from. They're suffering from a lack of light and a lack of, you know, awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of the creator, of the divine. And so, you know, we just have to stop being so rhetorical and start being walking Qur'ans like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know, actualized the faith in these spaces amongst those people. And, you know, if we study his life, we'll see a high degree of empathy as he engaged people that were, you know, steeped in ignorance,
Yeah.
steeped in a society of jahiliyyah, of ignorance,
But
you
he,
know.
but he also did not want us to show weakness. He also encouraged us to be strong.
Well, he told us what strength was too.
He did. But at the same time, I wonder how many comments is going to be against, because I'm used to people just against everything I say. I wonder how many more excuses after listening to everything I say, how I'm not for the Black community and how I hate myself. I wonder how many times I'm going to hear it, because I was called a coon, I was called Uncle Tom, and I'm like, all right, thanks.
Oh, you mean on the internet?
Yeah, on the internet, like this.
Oh, don't pay attention to the internet.
Oh
You know,
no, this
the internet is full of people that aren't happy and they want to make other people miserable. So
yeah,
you know,
but
you have to take that with a grain of salt. You know what I mean?
about it is they're saying
And a lot of people that don't take the time to understand what you're really saying.
yes, but people are a lot of people are going to sit and say that I don't love myself, I hate my people, all this other stuff. I love my people to the point that I'm willing to deal with all the garbage that's being thrown at me because I don't care. I need people to see, because if we're Muslim and we say that we're not encouraged to get handouts, we're encouraged to work. We're not encouraged, like what Islamic society went off of socialism. If you look and study the capitalist, how capitalism was, it is basically what we do in Islam. Instead of trying to get handouts from every day, we do not need anymore. It's important that we understand that we just need to work on ourselves and self-reflect. So I hope that this conversation can continue. You know, I'll let you know if we come up with another topic. Hopefully we hit everything. But it's interesting. I just think it's really interesting on how we view different ways to help people, and how, you know, you see a different way and I see a different way too. But it's the same way. Any final thoughts? Can you plug your website, plug your business?
Oh yeah, definitely. I appreciate that. Our website is chilldon'tkill.org. You can stay abreast of our activities. We're planning, inshallah, some very good activities coming up next summer. Hopefully, you know, the conditions will subside and we'll be able to resume our annual rally that we do every year, where we bring artists around the city, local artists, to come in and perform, and we bring different speakers out to the community, our local officials. We've been doing this annually since 2012. We also we have our ongoing Holler at the Hood sessions that we do, where we bring our messages and we give resources, you know, clothing, backpacks. We just did a Turkey Day giveaway where we gave out turkeys. So we have some more activities like that coming up. Also, due to our efforts in part in engaging local government, we played a role in ensuring that the park that we've basically adopted in the target area where we focus our activities was selected to be one of the ones that received numerous upgrades in the city of Detroit. And so in addition to expanding the basketball court there and adding more basketball goals, they've also installed some outdoor exercise equipment that we want to take advantage of. So we're planning a training day where we have the community come out, and we're going to have some cash prizes for different age groups, and as part of our effort to encourage healthy eating and a healthy mindset.
Yes.
So we're gonna look, hopefully we'll be able to launch that program, inshallah, this summer if the COVID situation subsides. But anyhow, chilldon'tkill.org is where you can stay abreast of our activities. There's a donate button there that we would greatly appreciate any help that's going to go towards these activities. So far, you know, we ourselves, the people who are committed to Chill Don't Kill's goals and mission, we make sure these things happen. We have been doing that we're not waiting on anyone to donate, but your donations will be greatly appreciated in helping us to reform our city here, and by extension, you know, our community, which we definitely look forward to nationalizing our efforts, inshallah, once we have been able to, you know, get to that level. So thank you very much for having me on, sis, and may Allah bless you.
I really want you guys to nationalize it. I would rather have a Chill Don't Kill than a BLM any day. So, you know, y'all just need to, you know, just have chapters, and like the Jawala Scouts in Philly. So just start looking into it. Like, if I can help in any way, please let me know, and we'll go from there. But thank you so much for coming on. You were
Thank
awesome.
you for having me. My pleasure.
Dialect.
My pleasure.